Welcome to Angel Heart Radio. We're on the Facebook page. I'm Annette McCoy. With me is Marney Perna. And if you want to join us in the chat room, as we would love you to be there, please go to either the Angel Heart Radio Facebook page, or I do believe you can do it via YouTube as well. So hop on over there and join us. Yes, because our show is all about change. And Marnie has a delightful story to start the show off with.
I do. I was busily getting ready for the show, logging into Zoom and doing all the admin stuff that we need to do. So I decided to draw a card today from my Angel Feather card selections. And the card that showed up today, and I'm not sure if it shows up on your thing, I'll put it in front of the mirror here or the window. It's called Embrace Change, and it's a cream angel feather. So the colour cream, to people that are listening today, is important. It's a little one of your little guideposts from your angels. And the angels applaud your willingness to embrace change and acceptance with maturity. So the rest of the card goes on to say that it's presented to you as a symbol of positive change, which has really got almost a hidden meaning today, hasn't it, Annette?
Yes.
So just hearing the word change often fills people with fear and anxiety because we become used to the norm. So that whatever's happening in our life becomes our normal. And when we change, suddenly we step out of that normal. But it's important to understand that everything in your life is moving and active in a constant state of change. So if you're not changing, if you're not adapting, if you're not making some form of change, you will stagnate. So we need to accept that. And accepting that things are always changing in you is a part of being comfortable with your life and not being stuck in regret or stuck. That's probably the word, is not being stuck where you were. The angels envisage that you will negotiate these developments with charm, grace, and strength, which is always good to know. You will put your best foot forward and will actually be unable to put a foot wrong. Reach for the sky. Now, Archangel Michael gives you the advice from courage. He's the courage or the angel of courage. Moonstone and milky quartz are the two gemstones that go with this angel feather card today. And the butterfly is your other guide today. And the butterfly is all about your transformation. So they must go through a certain amount of fear and anxiety as a caterpillar. But what about the wondrous blessing they get when they suddenly open their wings and can fly?
Yes. Yeah. And I love butterflies. I'm always happy to see them. Yep. And interesting you mentioned Archangel Michael, because Rosemary was saying that I need to have a chat with Archangel Michael.
Oh, so okay. Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. So,
the other set of cards that I use quite often from Michelle Newton is Archangel Michael's cards.
Yes.
Yeah, they've got some beautiful messages.
Right. Yeah. Cards are great, aren't they, Marnie? They can really help us. Well, look at that validity for today.
I know. I mean, I love it when it's so perfect, when a card is drawn. Sometimes it's not the picture, sometimes it's the words, because I'm very much the storyteller about the work that I use in clinic. So sometimes the message is within the story. Other times it's if it has a totem or a symbol or a picture, then that is sometimes what people connect with, and others it's colour. So just remember, the guides and angels, or your guides and angels, give you many, many hints and messages. We just need to keep learning how to interpret them.
Yes, yeah, because they are all around us. It really is amazing, and we can go, oh, thank you, validation. Yes.
It's like the little coins that we find on the ground. I hadn't found a coin for ages, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, all the coins. I need some validation here, guys. And almost instantly, there was a 10-cent piece on the floor. And you go, thank you.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Comes in a whole lot of different guises. And so for us to be aware that, thank you for that message. It might be what somebody says.
Yeah.
As you say, it might be a coin, it might be a feather. Oh, it's amazing when I find feathers. It's like, thank you.
Sometimes too, it's something that is special to between you and the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So, it could be a symbol of something like I don't know, a flower or something that when you see it, you think of the other person straight away. So if that comes into your conscious awareness for some reason, that person, if they've passed on, are giving you the message. They're giving you an angel hug and saying,
Mm-hmm.
oh, look at this.
Yeah. Well, changes. And for our audience, this is the last show for Marnie and I. It's yeah, I have a huge year of change because I'm traveling heaps. And so it seems as though it's appropriate rather than doing piecemeal bits here and there to say, okay, it's been fabulous. I've had a wonderful,
Wonderful.
wonderful time with my presenters on Angel Heart Radio. And it's incredible, Marnie, because you have been a part of it for almost all of the time, I
I
think.
know.
And
I
for
look
me,
back
it's
on our,
13. For me, it's 13 years.
yeah,
And that's interesting in itself because 13 is a very significant number for me. Born, twins, or married, twins. So much has happened on the 13th. And so I think, oh, wow, 13 years. So whether it's a hiatus or whether this is, it's certainly a phase in my life that at the moment is going to be put aside.
well, I think it's going to step me into my own podcast,
There you go.
which is
See?
an opportunity. So I'll take the blessings and the opportunity to start a podcast that, because I've always committed the time for Angel Heart Radio and loved it. So
Yep.
I'll do the same for my podcast.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It is, and it's been on my vision board for a couple of years, so it's obviously been percolating there.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting how it's all come about. And for our audience, I spent time with Anayah in Brisbane recently, and we caught up with Marnie, and it was so significant. It was just amazing because I know Anayah has things to share, which we will share on the 29th of February. Interestingly, because there are 5 weeks or 5 Thursdays in February this year, I had said to Anayah at the end of last year, will you come on with me? Because I knew it was my last show for a good while. And she said yes. Little did we know that it's sort of the ending and the beginning. So everybody stay tuned. And there you are. See, Marnie's doing her own show. Fabulous. You've done live things on Facebook before.
Yeah, lots of times, yeah. But it's about being regular with it too. Like all of a sudden I go, oh, I haven't done a Facebook Live for a while, and so you jump on and do it. But when you look at old ones that you've done, you realise it's quite significant when you do it on that day, sort of thing. So if I set aside a day, you know what the biggest challenge has been is actually finding a podcast name, like being able to actually get the podcast. So everyone, I think, oh, that'll be awesome. And I go and look and I go, oh, it's taken.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it is a matter about finding the name. So it'll possibly be Connectly for you, which isn't taken, obviously. So because it's mine and it brings everything together with what I'm doing.
Well, I think that's a really good idea because then it solidifies that with people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So does that mean your first show will be in March?
Possibly. I might even, I think, it'll have to be March because I have a busy February. Got quite a few speaking events, and also we're organising a very big International Women's Day event on the 3rd of March. So that does take up a fair amount of my available space and time, which is good. But it'll give me the chance to maybe organise a few shows ahead of time as well. So
very good. Oh, I'm
yeah.
excited.
I know it is exciting, but it's sad at the same time. Like I sat back after I'd left you in Brisbane that day, and I went, "Oh, that's so sad." And I thought I didn't cry, but I felt like it. Like I
right.
know the reason for it, and I know it's what we're all ready to do now. But you think it's that stability of having had it for so long. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And the energy that
Yeah.
we've put forward, and I believe the help that we've facilitated for people as well with our chats.
Yes. It is like an ending. It doesn't matter where the ending is. It's
No.
when I'm saying goodbye to people. The ending is sad. However, it brings in a new beginning. And so
Yeah.
whenever I say goodbye, there's always hellos.
Hello. Yes. Yes.
And even when we depart this world, for those who depart, it's the start of an exciting new chapter.
Yeah.
However, for those of us saying goodbye, it leaves a hole. And yeah, so
And
it doesn't
sometimes a
matter whether,
guilt, a guilt
sorry,
about having not achieved the things that we're supposed to or that we expect from ourselves. I was talking to my brother a couple of months ago, and he was saying the word expectations puts a
yes,
lot of burden on us because we expect things from others because of our own core beliefs and our own knowledge and however we run our lives. And when people don't meet those expectations, we feel disappointed with them, and it can cause a lot of grief. When mum,
mm-hmm,
now it's 7 years this month since my mum passed away, which I just can't believe has gone that
mm,
fast. But a huge thing that I have achieved in the last couple of months is to, and this was part of our December show, I think, was getting things ready to re-gift to my brothers and I all of the rest of mum's possessions, which were all nicely packed up in my shed, causing guilt every time I looked at him because I hadn't done anything with him. But my one brother, I took it all to his son, and he was delighted to have what he called Carmel's Treasures. And I've just finished posting or sending through Pack and Send a big box of stuff to my brother who lives in Geelong. And he
mm-hmm,
received it yesterday and had a wonderful time going through all the memories. And then the last lot of it is in a corner in my home waiting for my eldest brother to come by because he's going to come and pick it up personally. So, but it was a relief that I'd done it. And my daughter said to me, Mum, it took you 7 years. And I go, oh, I know. But, maybe they weren't ready to receive it yet either. So it
that's
wasn't
right.
just about me not doing it, but it was such a relief when I was able, and such pleasure going through everything and unpacking and putting it all out on the table and go, oh, I remember this, and Mum got this from this. And you also know that if you have the memories with whoever it's with or from, like you and your husband's stuff, other people don't know those memories. So it doesn't mean the same to them, and they
Right.
won't have the same link to feeling a bit bereft or sad when it's being passed on. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Like there
Yeah.
was an ashtray. Now, I mean, you're not meant to use ashtrays nowadays in this lifetime, but, people still do. But apart from myself, I don't think my brothers would have known where it came from. And it was one of my aunts. And
Right.
he gifted it to Mum, not because it was an ashtray, but because it was a fish. And we always laughed about it when we ever visited her. Now, her daughter, when I contacted her, I sent her a picture. I said, hey, do you remember this?
Mm,
And we had a great chat about it. But none of my family will know the significance of it.
right. Mm-hmm.
Well, even the memories of it. To them, it's just an ashtray. No one needs an ashtray. But it's really cute. So whoever
Well,
eventually gets it in an op shop somewhere will be delighted and go, oh, it's like something from my childhood.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
we never know, do we? Just
No.
before we go on, I would like to welcome Carol Kessels, who says, "Best wishes, Marnie. A great new step forward."
Thank you.
And it certainly is. Marnie and audience, yesterday I had the privilege of being at a celebration for a relation. Well, yes, my daughter-in-law's uncle, and so I'd had a bit to do with Matt as well. Um, and his wife decided that it would be a celebration of life. It was just beautiful. It's given me great ideas because Matt's body was to be donated. So,
yeah.
but a celebration of life. So in one corner up the front was a lot of significant things about the different stages of Matt's life. And then there was another area that had some of his clothes, some of his tools, some of the things he liked to eat, copies of his favorite recipes, and people were invited to take something that meant something to them. What a fabulous idea.
Yeah.
His sole surviving brother, and they were very, very close, was actually wearing some of his clothes yesterday.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you're right. Peter had great delight in sharing with people that he was wearing, because we wouldn't have known otherwise unless we'd seen Matt in those clothes. So great. I had great ideas of how we can celebrate lives, and of course there was the picture show going on in the background, and people were coming together. I met up with a friend who had only been thinking of the day before, wondering if she was still in the area, and boom, boom, there she was yesterday. It was lovely, and the joy of people coming together, and that's the joy, isn't it, that is associated with however we choose to celebrate a life. So again, changes.
And it's individual, isn't it? Like what will suit one person won't suit another person, but that's okay. Because if we're all the same, it'd be pretty boring.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yes.
And we don't know when change is about to occur either. Like change can be instant. It can be, you get up from the table and suddenly something totally changes. So something I share with clients, because I deal a lot with people that are stressed. Right? That's my core business, is stressed people or pets. But I'll say to them, when they're in the midst of anxiety and stress, they're almost sitting inside or standing inside a hula hoop, if you can imagine that. And that's their place that they're standing in life. So if they can step out of that hula hoop or step out of what I call the stress circle, they've changed their position on the universal grid. They've moved, they've made a change of some description. So from that change, they can turn and look in and sometimes find solutions. But without moving, without changing something that's going on in their life, they'll get the same. So you must input small amounts of change to get a different outcome.
Well, and also the card today, embracing change. Some of us find it difficult. I mean, change can bring fear. As you were saying, Marnie, we get into a routine, we get into the safety of, this is what I do. And then all of a sudden, it can be our own choice, or it can be foisted upon us. I mean, here you are, it was foisted upon you. It came out of left field. Well, guess what, Marnie? Our first show for 2024 is going to be our last.
I think the funny thing is, you have an inkling. Like it didn't surprise me as much as I expected it to. And it wasn't even that we were getting together, because you often came up at Christmas time or around January to catch up with Anayah. So we've often had little catch-ups around that time, haven't we?
Absolutely. And I must admit,
wasn't weird.
No, when we made that arrangement earlier in the week, I didn't expect to be saying to you, oh, this is the last show.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But on the Thursday night, it was evident that it was going to be. And I thought, and I said to Anayah, how interesting, we're catching up with Marnie tomorrow.
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, the universe knew what was going on long before I did.
That's all right. So change can be, like, a lot of people fear change, but I think, if we can swap the fear to, I'll often say, be mindful without being fearful. So when you go into that fear state, you go into that flight fight. So you become reactive, you become almost not aggressive, but like, don't you dare change because this is my norm sort of thing. So it's that kind of different kind of energy. So if we can replace the word fearing change to embracing change or being mindful of change, it allows us to step into it a little bit more gently.
I like the word embrace. I saw it several years ago now. There was I'm sure it was a book, Embracing Cancer. And it doesn't matter what we are challenged with, if we can embrace it, it changes the energy.
Yeah.
Rather than using the word fight.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. We need to do, the world needs more gentle. But it needs strong gentle. They can go together. It's a bit like I'm a consumer representative with palliative care changes that are being put in place, and they often talk about a good death. And although that seems like an oxymoron, it's not, because so many people don't have a good death. So the dying aspect is not the best. So we need to embrace that as being the cycle of life and doing what we can to ensure that people are comfortable, that people can die quietly or gently. And it's not about euthanasia or anything like that. It's just about the circumstances or the energy. I know with my mum, I was fighting so much with the establishment at the time that I wasn't in her space with her all the time. I was fighting on behalf of her. So I was advocating for her services, for her needs and wishes. But in hindsight, I wished I had have been able to let that all go and just be there. I was there, but there were so many times of my life that I'd take off and go and answer a phone call and have an argument with a doctor. So it was just, yeah. But apart from all of that, I still remember I was late that morning. Dad decided not to go for a walk. We nursed for Mum at home. She was sitting in a chair. She hadn't spoken for several days, and her mouth started moving. I went, Dad, Mum's trying to say something. And I'm sure she was trying to say to me, you're late. But yeah, it was a time.
Yeah. Do you think, my dad, he'd been unconscious for a while. Hours and hours and hours, and we'd been sitting with him. And we walked out of the room thinking that might have helped him, because sometimes if the loved ones are around, they hang on. And we came, I can remember vividly, I came back into the room with my family and his lips were moving.
Yeah.
And then he was gone. And I'm sure he was speaking to people on the other side.
Could have been. Yeah, because Mum's sisters were waiting for her, apparently. So, and they came over as magpies. So when I was walking up to tell my husband from the granny flat to the house, 3 magpies glided across the sky from Mum's house across over my house.
Wow.
And magpies, so with Mum, magpies were significant. She used to call them her sisters because one of her sisters was a nun. The magpies are black and white, and she often used to call the magpies her sisters. So a young niece who was only about 9 at the time, when her mum told her the story, this young niece said to her mum, oh, the sisters came for her. Now, that was out of the mouth of babes.
Yes, yeah.
Who didn't know the significance or anything like that. So, children accept it a little bit easier. But they're also a generation at the moment that are worried about change too. So little ones do find change scary, especially if something's changing dramatically. So they have a fear. There's a lot of negative energy about the social media and the news and everything replay things constantly, so that you almost bombarded with bad news. And little ones have no way of getting away from any of that either, because it's just a reality of life. And it's not that you're trying to cushion them. What it is blasting all the time of the negativity. So I do get quite a few children in clinic that are having separation anxiety. And I find with them, if you give them a tool to help themselves, they cope really well. And sometimes that tool is colour. you can say to a child, what colour is that emotion? And they'll come out with a colour. They don't need to think about it. They just blurt out a colour. And if you can say to them, okay, well, if you need to soften that colour or to change that colour, what would be a better colour? What would make you feel safer or better? And they'll come up with a colour as well. So if you give them a gemstone or a card, or someone used to give them a picture of a fractal with a dragon, but if they lose it, that adds to their anxiety. Whereas the colour, thinking of colour, they're not reliant on anything else. They can just bring the colour forward.
Yes. Yes, and simplicity as well. No, we need to, quite often we're looking at something in a complex way rather than breaking it right down to, okay, so what is it that I'm resisting? What is it that I'm fighting and don't want to go there? Okay, what's the feeling or the reason?
Yeah. And honestly, if you can find the answer to that, you can do something about it. Because if you don't know why you're fighting, why you're not wanting to do, why you're not feeling comfortable, how can you do anything about it? Knowledge is power. So if you've got a name that you can put on that, you then have capacity to make change.
Yes.
And you're right, simple is best.
Well, that's right. And it's the same if we're concerned about our health. Once we know what the problem is, well, we can deal with it. But it's that
whole what if it's this, what if it's that, and you put all this energy into the what ifs, and it turns out to be something else, and you go, oh, all that worry.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
You were talking before about expectations, and a friend of mine talks about open expectations.
Yeah.
Because
okay, that's a good one.
You're so spot on with as soon as we have expectations, we're limiting how we feel about a situation.
I like that. I've got to write it down somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll forget when I get off the thing.
Yeah.
Open.
Open expectations rather than no expectations. I try not to use that word. I try and refrain from it and rephrase what I'm trying to say rather than using no. Yes, so open expectations.
But sometimes too, we don't know that it's our expectations. Like you can ask that question, is it my expectations? Is it your expectations? Or is it universal? Universal expectations might be society norm or something like that, whereas your expectations is how you've grown up, what your life, because it does come back to your core beliefs. Because when your core beliefs are impacted or affected, it affects you. Right? So sometimes it's a matter of what are your 5, and it's really hard sometimes to find your 5 core beliefs. People can come up with 1, 2, and 3. 4 and 5 sometimes takes considerable looking in and going, now. But if you can step back from feeling affronted or angered or your expectations are being over or just discounted, step back and go, why? Why do I feel like that? You can actually connect that to one of your core beliefs. And you go, oh, that's why. So that's when you have to let it go.
Yes, and also I have realised that because I do something a certain way, it doesn't mean that somebody else is going to respond that way. And yet sometimes that's what we think. Oh, so-and-so didn't say thank you or whatever.
Yes.
That can be a common one. People, especially older people, they'll, I sent such and such, and say for birthdays or whatever. And okay, just because I like to respond doesn't mean that I have the right to put that expectation on anybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
And we give ourselves a hard time if
we do.
If that's chewing us up. It's like, really?
Yeah. And that's the whole thing about sending mum's stuff away too, was my expectation is the boys need to deal it with themselves. One brother said, well, I don't actually want anything. And I went, what? Yeah, I was horrified. But his son happily received it all. So, you know, Mick at the time didn't have the potential to have it. So that was okay. And he was open enough and able to say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want anything. Well, he wasn't sorry at all, actually. He just said, no, I can't. No thanks, but no thanks. I think it might have been. And I went, how dare he?
But see, that's the other thing too, Marnie. We can give someone something, and what they do with it, that might not be to their liking.
Yeah.
And so I made it really clear when my first son was married, and I would give them little bits and pieces. And I'd say, please, if this isn't to your liking, please don't have it on the wall just because, oh, Annette's going to come around. No, you like it, you keep it. You don't like it, pass it on. Because sometimes that's the purpose. I've put something, I received a whole lot of things from a lovely lady in the village who has no further need for these different kinds of bags. And I thought, well, they could sit in my cupboard until I've got something to put in them, or I can pass them on to the social committee people who I'm sure will use them long before I do.
Yeah.
And I think I'm still very, very grateful to the lady who's passed them on to me, because I can now send them somewhere where they're going to be more useful.
Absolutely. You were the conduit of care. Really,
Sorry,
weren't you?
Yeah.
The conduit of care.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Norleen. Norleen is enjoying our conversations. So am I. Love it. All these reminders to self.
And it's taken 13 years for me to wait before I jump in with a word. Oh, dear.
Oh, well, when you're doing your own shows, Marnie, that isn't a don't need to worry.
We used to sit there and both of us wouldn't say anything, and then both of us would talk together because we thought, oh, the other person's got something to say. And you'd listen to it afterwards and you go, oh, I did it again. But yeah, obviously it worked because we've had lots of people join in lots of times, haven't we, for many.
Yes, yeah. And the thing is too, the people who come into the chat room are a very small number compared to those who tune in at some stage. And of course, the beauty of what we're doing is that you can tune in anytime. I smile because people say to me, oh, I forget to listen. I said, you can listen anytime you like. So I don't feel it has to be when we're live.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you talk, I'm watching your little ducks jump all around your ears.
Disney managed, when we did the Disney cruise, there were ducks. I don't know who started it, but little ducks of all sizes were put in the public areas and people could take them. They could keep them or they could put them back elsewhere. And when I was on Kangaroo Island recently, a lady was selling the earrings and I went, have to have them.
Well, see, ducks for me bring back memories of my mother-in-law, Nonna. And she collected ducks. So if anyone went anywhere, they would buy Nonna a duck. So when she passed, she had hundreds of ducks in her house, all with memories, none of them heirlooms, but all so totally connected with love and memories, that you could either give back to people, or I still have some around the house here and I'd say, oh, they were Nonna's ducks. So even the kids know that they were Biz Nonna's ducks, not my ducks, even though I'm caring for them. And it makes her. And my husband was saying when he was watching me unpack all Mum's stuff, he said, is it making you feel sad? And I said, well, yes, but no, because I'm enjoying the memories. And he said, I haven't got any memories of my mum. And I said, well, actually you do. And I was able to point out several things that we just have in our house that were Nonna's, that are now ours. They might not be his childhood memories, but they were memories from her house. Like when we use it, we know we're using Nonna's. We've got a pig serviette holder, And then we've got this big owl. It's a biscuit barrel and things like that. So, you know, there's lots of memories there. But if you don't realise that that's where they came from, it's just part of your subconscious. So what you need to do is bring it into your conscious awareness.
And it's lovely, isn't it, to see different things around the house and go, oh, yes, and out comes the story or a story about it.
And not throw them out because they're slightly damaged. Like Mum had she was of her generation, they collected crystal. I mean, I'm similar. I've got lots of crystal. I see crystal in the back in your cupboard even. And Mum had these set of crystals that she would have got as her 21st or when she was married. Now, when my brother was very, very young, his cot was apparently underneath a ledge which had a tablecloth on it. So he pulled the tablecloth and some of the crystals fell over. Now, he didn't get cut or anything, but I remember Mum saying, oh, yeah, that's the time my brother pulled the tablecloth down. So there's one particular nice, beautiful rose vase that's quite chipped on the top. Now, I thought I won't send that to the boys. I'll keep that one because I know where it came from. But I'm having the fun of cork using it for my rose display at the moment. I've got a rose bush that just keeps giving. And the stems are long enough that they fit into the vase. And it's such a blessing each time to pick the vase up and empty the water and refill it with more roses, because what a gift that's giving me. You know, it's not being put in a cupboard and totally forgotten about.
Right.
It's actually been well used. Warts and all.
Well, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because a chip, if something is still safe, a chip tells a story.
It's a bit different when it's a cup. You can't actually use a chipped cup or a cracked cup because you're just as likely to pour hot water into it and it'll just open up. But this is a strong crystal vase that is not being affected by the chip.
Yes, and those chipped cups can be used for other things as well. So, no.
I'm getting very good, Annette. If someone gives me, I did get a lovely mug for Christmas from the grandchildren with their pictures on it. And I brought it back home here and I looked in my mug drawer and I said, which of you lovely mugs would like to go and visit somebody else while I put my new one? So I kept one and took out two, which is something that I'm attempting to do now. Is when I bring something new into the house, I release two things that I don't require as much or don't love maybe as much anymore.
See, that's interesting. A couple of years ago, I was given I think, you've been mugged. And it was, so I did that this Christmas, said, you've been mugged. Keep what's inside. Please yourself, whether you keep the mug or pass it on in a similar way. And that way I was able to release the ones that I could.
That said it would like to go.
I've got a set of 6 that means something to me, but I've found now I've got so many individual ones that have stories because they've been given to me. I thought, oh, that 6 maybe can become a set of 4 because I tend to use individual mugs now anyway. So, and I'm
you reach for the same ones virtually. Like you have some that are your morning mug and some that are your afternoon mug. And
oh well, that's right.
I must admit, Annette, I've got many more than 6.
No. This was a set of 6.
Oh,
all
okay.
the same.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking it could come down to a set of 4. Yes, because other things come in. That set was really important at the time.
Yeah.
My thinking has changed, and I've been given all of these mugs that I would like separate ones, and I think, okay, so now because I usually open the drawer and say to people, you know, choose a mug. And so yes, if they're all different, and I'm lucky, Marnie, because I live in a village, and of course we have mugs in an area. So I think, oh well, the ones that maybe I'm not using myself,
you can hand over there. Yeah.
So,
We've got a lovely lady locally who has an op shop that she opened a couple of years ago, and she supports a lot of community work with her op shop. So nothing's more than $2 in it. And occasionally there's something that's a bit dearer, but you can give household clothing, doesn't matter, to this lady, and she on sells it. And it's amazing how much she goes through. And she recently made a significant donation to the, well, she supports us as Seroptimists, but she also supports the local Women Football Association as well. And it's her way of gifting back. And she's done it through the naming of her shop even, because she had 3 friends who passed by suicide. So the EMM Power are the initials of the 3 girls who passed by suicide. So they're a constant. Her reason for doing it and her reason for having her shop as a place where people can come and buy or give, but also chat, you know, and feel safe and comfortable in doing so. So, you know, there's always places that take things.
That's right. And it's what the wonderful job. People are creating spaces, aren't they? How lovely that woman.
Yeah, it's a fabulous little place. Yeah. But even the dump, I mean, when you think, oh, I don't want to take that to the dump because it's just landfill, dumps now have places where you can put things that aren't broken and they go into their like recycle shop.
Yes.
They call it something. It's like a shop anyhow, like a jumble sale of stuff that people have taken to the dump because they no longer need it. They don't know what else to do with it, so they take it to the dump. So instead of just throwing it in landfill, it goes into these. They have all these separated sites where you can put all your bits and bobs. And if they then decide it's not worthy to sell, well, that's fine. You've had a go at doing it.
That's right.
It's allowing change of ownership.
Yes. Now, Nolene says, I have special pieces from special people.
Yeah.
Lovely memories.
Absolutely. And that lovely feeling and those lovely memories get polished every time we use them.
Or look at them or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Or smile at them even, you know. Oh, isn't that lovely?
Well, it warms our heart, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember early on in my my clinic life, I had a client who was very, very down in the dumps. She was an elderly client. She's part of my book, actually. She was one of the first people I put in my book. And her life was really quite grim. So she didn't have a lot to smile about. And we had to teach her how to smile again, because for me, smiling is the first step to starting to release some of that stress and feel well. And I'd say to her, you know, smile at 3 people a day when you walk to the letterbox. And I come back the next week and she go, oh, no, I couldn't do it. You go, really? Because in your head, that's not that hard, you know. Why couldn't you smile at 3 people? And why? Well, I don't like smiling. But your body needs you to smile, because smiling releases happy hormones, like the muscles being used. The body knows that means happiness. So anyhow, I said, oh, I've got a great idea. I'll put you in. And I took her into the bathroom and put her in front of the mirror. And I said, smile at yourself. And I could have put a picture off the floor. She said, oh, Marnie. Well, what now? I was just gobsmacked. She said, I don't like myself. She didn't like the decisions she was having to make. She didn't like the space she was, not so much where she was living, but what was going on in her life. And I went, oh, my God. And I said, well, I don't care. I said, what you have to do, and I made her put 2 fingers beside her lips, and I made her make these pretend smiles at the mirror, because I said, even though you don't feel like smiling, that's releasing the happy hormones. It's reminding your body that smiling is good and that the happy hormones. Anyhow, I went shopping and I found a really ugly, dangly legged ornament. It was a piece of watermelon. It was one of those grossly ugly things that was cute. So I bought it and I raced around to her house and knocked on the door, and I said, I've got something to make you smile. And I went, ta-da! And she laughed at it. And I went, perfect. So if she couldn't smile at people, if she couldn't smile at herself, she used to have to exchange a smile with that piece of watermelon. And I was only talking to her recently, and she said, oh, I forgot all about the watermelon. She said, I don't know what I did with it. I said, it doesn't matter. It was what we were using.
Served its purpose.
It was what, if you could find nothing else to smile at, there was no sense of responsibility with this piece of watermelon. She could just smile at it, and there was no payback or anything like that. It was just something she had to do. And she did learn to regain her smile, which was good.
Yeah. It's a bit like laughter too. Sometimes it's not until we laugh at something and we go, oh, how long is it since I laughed?
Yeah, especially a belly laugh.
Sorry?
Especially a belly laugh, you know, a really deep, fun one.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Isn't it when we do that? Really shakes us up. It's
It does.
fabulous.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yes. So lots we can do. Simple
There
things
is.
again.
And other people can just up and travel.
Oh, I got the book today from Cunard to people who are unaware. In March, I'm very fortunate. I'm going to sail from Sydney to Singapore with a girlfriend on the Queen Victoria. And so we got the little booklet that, before you travel, this is what you've got to do and all that kind of stuff. So, but now, Marnie, there are apps. I smile because it's all on my phone. You can check
Yeah.
in, you can do all of that kind of stuff. So
That's subject to you having a phone. It's a bit more challenging
well,
if you have someone who doesn't have a phone.
well, I know this is. I just look. I was out with my siblings last night, and I'm a cash person. And my brother said, "And what are you going to do when we go cashless?" He said, "It'll happen in our lifetime." And I said, "Well, I'm doing my best
Mm.
to keep cash alive."
Yeah. Well, I unexpectedly received a check in the mail a couple of weeks ago from it was from a government department, and it was a refund that I didn't realise I was going to get. And I thought I must bank that check. And I just casually went into a bank yesterday, and I said, "Can I bank a check?" Not expecting her to say no, but
Right.
I didn't know how because it was an online account. I didn't know how I could put it into my account. She said, "Oh, absolutely." But she said at the end of March, we are no longer accepting bank deposits in checks. And I went, "Well, what will people do?" She said, "Well, they can go to the post office and use their card to pay it in at the post office." And I said, "Well, my two accounts don't have cards. I've got two different bank accounts, neither of which have a card connected to them because they're old school." And she said, "That could be challenging." I mean, I was amazed. I mean, I haven't personally used a check for a long time, and I'm pretty sure the checks I've got in the checkbook would no longer be valid.
Right.
I must really take them back to the bank because who writes checks anymore?
Yes. Yeah.
It's yeah. So yeah, it was quite interesting for her to say from this bank that I think it was the end of March. So she said to me, if I wanted a card attached to my online account, they could. There was kind of like two parts to it. They could get a card for me for the second part. And I just
Right.
thought that's another card in my bag that I don't want.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, it was
Change.
interesting.
Yeah.
Change. There's that word again.
Yes, that's right. It's like, oh, really? Because the banks are making money. I wouldn't mind. There was a time when I used my credit card all the time. And at the moment, no, I don't. I would prefer to have cash because if I use my credit card, it costs me.
Mm.
And I said, I can understand the vendors not wanting to have those fees. But I said, the banks are the ones benefiting by it.
Yeah.
They love people using credit cards, especially when they don't pay it off
I know.
totally.
And the interest
And
rates are
there's
just
so much
phenomenal.
debt out there. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is a changing society. I can remember my son as a very young child and he wanted something. And I said, "No, Dad, no, I haven't got the money for that." And he said, "Just go to Franklin's." And I went, "What
Yes.
are you talking about?" And he said, "They'll give you the money." Because he would see me buy something, hand over the card, and they'd give me the money back.
Yes. That was the same as the ATM. My boy said, "I'll just go to the hole in the wall."
Yeah, yeah. So again, it's you don't realize what people are seeing when they're looking at what's going on,
Right.
or the background story, I think is what it is. So yeah, pretty funny. And it's funny as adults to look back and laugh at those kind of things as well.
Yes. Well, and the things that we now take for granted, like I was given one of those beautiful galaxy whatever's that put laser and the
The lights.
the lights on the wall.
Yeah. The
And I
shadows.
thought I was going to use it in the bedroom. And then I've decided, well, no, I'm going to use it in the living area. It's just divine.
Mm.
But so I went to set it up when I came home in January. Oh, no, no, you've got to do it via your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, all too difficult for
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah.
I waited, and it was earlier this week. My son set it up for me, and then he said, "Oh, and so you do this." Well, then I tried to do that later with a girlfriend, and fortunately, it was working, but I wasn't. I wanted to change the color, and I
Mm.
couldn't. And I said, "Oh, I needed a second lesson."
You
Now
find a
it's
5-year-old and they'll be able to do it for you.
exactly. And what made me laugh was that, yes, I, of course, had my phone several kilometres away from here
Yeah.
last night, and I laughed and I thought anyone walking past my unit would have seen these lights come on.
Yeah.
And of course, I wasn't home.
No.
But yeah, so no, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And your cat has just come in.
Yes, one of the cats is. I coughed. She doesn't like me coughing for some reason, so she
Ah,
meows at me when I cough or sneeze. Really? So I googled it the other day, and it's quite common apparently.
ah.
Yeah, it's
See,
bizarre.
there you are. We don't
I
go
know.
to an encyclopedia anymore. We go to Google.
Well, yes, because I wouldn't know where to find. Why does a cat meow at me when I sneeze? It's bad luck because I often get the sneezes, so I sneeze plenty of times. So she goes, meow, 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 meow. Yeah, she's a funny little thing.
Ah,
Yes, I've stopped.
changes.
Yeah,
It's fascinating, isn't it?
yeah.
Thank you for your smiley face, Norleen. Isn't it? See the emojis. We we communicate in so many different ways. I can remember, probably I am. I'm going back to the 90s where a friend said, "Oh yes, I check my emails as I have my breakfast," and I go, "What? Pardon?
Why?
Um, emails? What?" And I can remember it was in the yeah, no, it doesn't matter when, in the 90s, definitely. A girlfriend and I, we had email friends in our classrooms. We actually were exchanging emails with a class in Austin, Texas. But for me, it was just Fee was younger than me, and she was the one doing it because it just didn't make sense to me.
No,
What are we doing? Now I think nothing of shooting an email. I can
I
do it
know.
from my phone.
And again, that's our expectations because we're on tap all the time. We send an email to someone and we sit there going, when are they going to answer? But it's amazing. Some people still don't look at their emails until the end of the week. I have 5 set up, not all of mine, but like I monitor other ones. So I check one first, and I check the other, then I check the other 3, and I go, oh, this is tiring. And then you go back, and hopefully you don't send the wrong one to the wrong person.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I've done that. Oh, whoops, that wasn't me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nolene's saying the animals talk to us, don't they? Absolutely.
Yes. This little kitten is very vocal. She's although she's doing better. She didn't come into the room this morning till about 5:45, but she has been known to start at about 4, saying, "I'm sure it's breakfast time. Are you awake?" And if I hide under here, I end up with her little face burrowing and looking at me like this, really close. And I go, really? And she's taken to then rubbing up my cheek, and I go, oh. So you hide under the pillow and she scratches you out. So if it's too early, and the only way I can tell is to lean over and look at my phone to see what the time is, I have to get up and take her into the laundry and shut the laundry door and go back to bed, because she doesn't take no for an answer in the bedroom. It's no, I'm sure it's food time. Whereas in the laundry, I can't. If I put her in our bathroom, she scratches the door. Whereas downstairs in the laundry, she seems to accept that, well, okay, maybe it's not food time yet. So, yeah. It's one of my changes I'm dealing with is, early mornings, which I haven't done since the kids were little.
Right.
Well, I mean, 7 o'clock is not early, but it's comfortable, isn't it, to sleep till
Well,
7?
it's fascinating. Girlfriend and I walk at 7 of a morning here in the village. And anyway, this morning there's another lady coming back, and we said, oh, and we know that Maria goes earlier. She starts walking at 6:30. But then another girlfriend who's training to do the Camino later in the year, she meets someone at 5:45 of a morning in a park. So she said she's got to leave at 5:30, and we sort of went, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, if you happen to get up at that time, it's quite bright, which is part of the problem, I think. The cats go, well, it's bright, the birds are chirping, why aren't you up?
Yeah.
But I find it very easy to lay back on my pillow and go back to sleep for another hour.
Oh, absolutely, yes. There are times, Marnie, when I simply see the time to get up as numbers, because I know the other morning I had to be out early, and it was like, oh, really? And yet when I do it then, and I think, oh, what's the big deal?
Yeah. I signed up to a webinar, and it was from Canada. And I thought, yeah, I can do this. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, our time. But yeah, it was important enough to get up for. But actually on the day, I looked at the clock and I went, I'll watch the recording. So, yeah, which I have, which is good.
Well done.
Yeah. So, talking about butterflies, it's not flying outside the window at the moment, going flip, 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 flip. We've just had this sudden resurgence of, I don't know if they're called blue admiral, but they've got black edges and really bright blue wings. And I haven't seen them floating around for a long, long time.
Oh.
Could be years even, but I was at a girlfriend's place recently. She's got a herb farm, and there was lots over there. And I said, oh, look at all your blue. I'm pretty sure they're blue admirals. And she said, yeah, they've just started coming back. And I've noticed they're actually here at the moment as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's really nice. Probably all the rain. Oh, my God.
Right.
We've had lots.
Yes. Yeah, you have. Well, the time has come.
It has. Bless. Thank you so much, Annette. You've been an absolute trooper sharing your show with me.
And how fortunate, Norleen, thank you. Thanks for the laugh, ladies. Well, thank you for saying that, because it's easier than tears, isn't it? So
it is, yes. And I've loved
I know we're going
visual.
to keep in touch. That's the best, the best part of all of this. Yes, we've been work colleagues. We're more than that, and the bond will certainly stay. So,
and you have a wonderful, happy holidays.
Yes, I'm sure those who follow me on Facebook will see where I am, and what I'm doing.
I'll keep a count of how many ice creams you eat.
I laughed because on the Resilient Lady, which is the new Virgin ship, there's an ice cream bar, and I must admit I didn't have one every day. It was there, and it was like, oh, okay, yep, no. There were plenty of people who did. I mean, it was you could just go from I think it was most of the time up until 10 o'clock at night, so it was readily available. Yeah, so we're very blessed with all of the things that are out there. So may our audience feel and welcome change and
embrace it.
Yeah, see the magic in every day, and if you're not seeing it, create it so that other people can enjoy it too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again.
My pleasure. And
bye.
Thank you, Marnie. Thank you, everybody. And I'll be back next week with Rosemary.
Yes, and from me, it's our over and out. See you later.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.